Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome, Grumpy. Congratulations, whatever that means. Come on, last. Well, hopefully. Well, I don't know if hopefully, but if you're the last person, this is gonna be a really intimate stream between the three of us. Where's this coming from, Master? I don't have friends. I have people I vaguely know because friends. Is this something you experienced recently? And you got that 50 stream streak. Let's go. Grumpy. What are the chat rules? Well, essentially, there's like not too many rules, but it is sort of required that we leave space for everybody here, right? And that we behave like in a really, um, really safe way, so people can be vulnerable here, and so therefore, like no judgment, and just like asking questions in a way where there's like room to disagree and respect the feelings of other people. So I don't know, for example, if somebody's like talking about how tough that day was, then maybe like not, like what is my camera frozen by the way? Like to me my camera is frozen. I think the camera is frozen. Wait, let me see if I can fix it. Yeah, okay, that was pretty easy. I don't know why that happened, but let's hope it was the last time it happened. Um, yeah. So I don't know if somebody explains something like really vulnerable and really sad, for example, like coming in with, um, the, I don't know, just something like really conflicting where you like don't match the vibe at all, like that can sort of like seem dismissive as well. So just being a bit sensitive to and aware of what the people are like going through, what the mood of the chat is right now. I think that's honestly like the only things like we can talk about like anything, so like no topic um is like uh banned or whatever. It just requires like for some topics it requires a certain sensitivity to talk about them, right? So for example, we had some people who didn't understand why people commit suicide, and I think this is actually like a question which makes a lot of sense, right? Like if you haven't been in that situation, you probably don't understand. So that question in itself is, for example, like it's entirely fine. But if you phrase that question in a way where you sort of like make statements about people having suicidal ideations, like, oh, like they're all like whiny ass bitches or something, like then it's not fine again anymore. Like there is sort of like there's a normal way to talk about things, and then there's a way how you like dismiss the experience of other people. So but I think like any person who's sort of like a bit like socially intelligent sort of knows that difference. But yeah, also like we talked about what is my camera doing? I'm gonna check the cables. Right. Okay, now it's stuck. Okay. I mean, that it was stuck again means I sort of did something, right? So let's hope that actually fixes it. Thank you so much for the follow. So yeah, there's also like a panel sort of explaining the chat rules a little bit more below the stream. But yeah. So welcome, welcome, Stroke and Medio and Yengo. How are you guys doing? I had a talk with my friends and they say I don't want to be happy, so I told them they didn't want to support me. tell them to walk out. Don't want to come. They just want to shit on. The hard boundary. I will not let them shit about me. Don't want to listen. Yeah. So how is there like any sort of feedback already? Like, did anybody like come back saying sorry or something like this, or did anybody just leave and you don't know if there's gonna be any sort of way to fix things? And how did that start? But that must be quite hard. Hi, Talon. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Artang. How's it going? Great. Also, I started a new hobby. Kind of questionable, but I started writing smart stories. All right. To each their own, I guess. I'm really unsure actually how the smart stories, um, like if that has any sort of like anything to do or is anywhere in the area of like porn addiction. Um, so I'm not sure if that's sort of the same area or not. Ooh, what type of public holiday is it? Greetings from Germany. Ja, moin moin. Willkommen, willkommen. Greetings back. Thank you for the follow. I left. I will be alone the rest of my life. Just stupid. I don't deserve anyone. The limbo of being proud of setting a boundary and understand can be quite hard to like deal, I guess, with the backlash of making the right decision, right? I mean, especially if you're a person who doesn't have many friends, even shitty friends were like did something, right? And then just especially like if you have abandonment fear, sometimes it's like easier to have somebody around even if they're not really, no, even if it's not really a healthy relationship, than having nobody around. And I think it makes a lot of sense, Asta, right, with your upbringing and stuff. But in a way, I think, I feel like you know yourself that you don't have to be alone the rest of your life and that you do deserve proper friends. Even if they're like sort of, if your sort of negative intrusive thoughts are telling you something else, and even if the auditory hallucinations are telling you something else. And I think there's like this, maybe, you can call it like naive hope or idealism, but I feel like clinging on to that might not be a bad idea. Just sort of for till you know, find some other people. Because if you end up not putting yourself out there, right, then I don't know, you don't have a chance of getting to. Amusing way I found you. I saw your Prominence 2 video on YouTube and I drew my attention to your unrated video. Often thought about it. Damn! Let's go. That is actually quite funny. Yeah, the Minecraft videos are doing the best on my channel. Like, there's also like, I don't know if you've seen like all the VODs of the streams here. I put them on YouTube so like people can look like talks up they've been enjoying and sort of like want to come back to later on. But yeah. They're not performing well considering they're just like unedited VODs. Thank you, Raka. Hmm. Um, you had auditory hallucinations till Saturday and didn't sleep? Mm, that's that's really tough. You know, have some grace for yourself. In a way, I feel like what you know a lot of stuff about yourself already, right? And you know how your body works and how, for example, these auditory hallucinations work and how these inner voices work, right? And I think you remember maybe when back when we talked about uh, uh, oh, this is actually just the right thing. Back when we talked about each person's sort of needs they need to have fulfilled, otherwise like things are going downhill, you know. We especially know that things are going downhill, like if you have like more of like fragile mental health. If you're, for example, or like actually it's like for everybody, like even if your mental health is good, then it's going worse. But I mean, for the people who are like more volatile in that sense, it's like a bigger impact, right? Um, but I don't know if you remember when that we talked about, for example, like physical exhaustion being a factor where all of these symptoms you have, which are sort of like symbolizing that your mental health is like on the downhill sort of way, right? Are gonna get worse if you're like physically exhausted. For example, when you spend more time on like dopamine draining things, for example, like social media or addictions, if like for women more prominent, but also can be a thing for men, is like when your hormones are out of bound, right, and not like as you're used to them. And then if you're tired because you're like sleep deprivation, if your food or like nutrition is not the best. So for example, if you have been like eating like fast food for the last week or something, and your body is like really like not doing well because your stomach and your intestines and like all the nutrients you need, there's so many nutritions you didn't get, so your body needs to sort of like is halfway in survival mode, like trying to get these nutritions from somewhere. And then at the same time maybe like you have uh like the irritated like bowel syndrome, and then you're like your bowel is going to be like super irritated, right? Or for example, if you had like no sun and are lacking vitamin D, if you haven't been in nature at all, if yeah, if you have like problems in your social circle, or you don't have that, like you don't socialize as normal, or if you did like no exercise at all and your body is sort of like dying, right? Um, so it's just a way where like knowing this, it makes a lot of sense why your voices are louder now, right? But it's not really a way of like they're louder now because they're right, right? And they I don't know, like they know what's going on, or that there's like more sort of evidence to what they're saying, right? They are louder because of the circumstances you are in, and because the circumstances make you like more tired, less easy to like fight against them, right? It can be in the sun, but my body doesn't store the vitamin D. That's why I take. Oh, that's a lot of vitamin D. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. But I think if you have these things in the back of your mind, maybe that's gonna help you deal with these voices, right? And deal with the negative self-talk you have. Because you know it's not the case that it's more true now, and that's why it's louder, right? But it's the case that you're more tired. Your body is in a less optimal state than before, and that's why they get louder. Like, it's not based on how much evidence they have or how valid they are. Hi, Blue Striker. Welcome, welcome. Depending on your auto mod held message, we're by the way like LGBTQ plus, like supportive, right? Just to make sure you know. it's like super connected. So, you know, don't don't take it too much to heart. Because yeah, it's not based on really like reality or more facts or more evidence. It's really honestly just based on your head is in a worse space, in a worse headspace, and that's why more of these thoughts and sort of your mind shifts in a more negative direction. But you don't need to believe it. It's not really warning you from anything. Like it's essentially it's based in fear, but the advice it gives is not really helpful. No, I understand. I think, in a way you need to take what's useful from these voices and leave what's not useful, right? I got the last message, Mirandex. I'm sorry I didn't like say it out loud. I was like thinking about it, and but then the next thought like instantly catched me. I just wanted to like focus on Esther for a second and then come back to your message. But I should have like clearly said it. My bad. Exactly, Medio. Like a lot of like when I had like really bad mental health, I was struggling with like negative self-talk and depression and stuff like this. Um, I always thought that I can believe the reality I perceive. I always thought that the way I sort of like my logic works and the way I interpret things would make sense. And I thought that my logic, if I base it on more like objective things, would be really deterministic. Like, really, like A happened and B is the outcome, and this is the reality. But the thing is, if you put a not depressed person, like, or the same person in a non depressed state versus a depressed state in the same room and let it interpret the room and like all those different like stimuli in the room the same, the result is going to be entirely different. So, based on your mental state, based on how your body feels as well, you will perceive reality different. You will judge reality different, especially, for example, the safety of the reality you are in right now. This is why, for example, if you come into an argument with a person, right, with a partner or with a friend, with a person which matters to you, in the beginning, maybe the argument seems really superficial, but if you get into like a downward spiral into that argument, you might have noticed or like lived through this yourself that at the end of this, you're like, everything is shit, and this person is like so toxic, and oh my god, I can't imagine how I've ever been friends with them. But once you get out of that situation, you cool down a day later, maybe two, maybe just a few hours or a few minutes later, depending on like how fast you're able to cool down from this, right? But then you probably see the situation entirely different. And this is really like we feel like we can always believe how we see reality, and we believe in sort of like an objective reality you can try to perceive in like if you have like good self-awareness and stuff like this. But you really can't. Like if your body feels really shit, you won't interpret things the same way. Like if you have stomach pain, if you have headache and you try to interpret something, the calculations going on in your mind are entirely different, right? Because you're already like you're using so much energy. Like the way your body interprets, okay, like how much energy can I still spend? How much pain can I still take? All of this is going to change. Like if you feel cold, the way you touch things and like the sensation you get is going to feel different. Like the heat of something is going to feel different, the cold of something is going to feel different. Sometimes you can't even properly like feel the texture of something if you're cold. And this is with everything. Like everything of us is super influenced by how the needs of it are fulfilled. So, for example, if we're hungry, we're way more likely to eat the most random bullshit than if we're not hungry. Because the calculation entirely changes. Like the priorities change. So if you're in a state where your body feels like we need to survive, your priority is going to change. It's too cold to go for a long walk, and that makes me really sad because outside makes me lose my. Maybe you can invest in one of these like really, really long jackets. You know which one I mean? That's like these like puffer jackets, which are really like nearly down to the floor. Like maybe that could be a thing, because if like going outside and going for a walk is something which like really helps you and is one of their like best strategies to cool yourself down, invest in something which makes that possible. And for example, if you think that it's more about the exercise, you could invest in a gym membership and then like just walk on the like treadmill, right? If you already know like no, it's really like the nature stuff, then for example, like a thicker jacket or something. Like something which lets you do this. You can also, of course, always try different types of emotional regulation exercises, right? Like going for a long walk in nature, I think like this is like a very universally known thing to calm down. But for some people, it's also like a thing of like just being in a quiet room, which is rather dark. I think that's probably not as useful for you with auditory hallucination. For some people, it can also just be like going into the city and walking through the city center, right? Can't eliminate the fact that our experience is subjective. What you think or what you feel, don't change. Exactly. And it's not even only subjective in the way that like my neighbor is going to see this different than me, but it's really like even within like the experience of ourselves, it can change day by day, hour per hour. It can change like this. If something happens which is triggering you, this is essentially like a change like this. And then it just, you know, takes off. Walking with my dog, I can dress for the cold, but my dog can't. I see. I don't know how. I don't know how comfortable your dog is, but I've seen sort of people who, for example, have like a backpack pouch thing for their dog, where they can like put the dog in, like not able to like walk further anymore. Or there's like, yeah, or like dog jackets. But okay, well, if she tears that one up, then yikes. But yeah, I mean, maybe sort of like a smaller walk will do something at least for you, you know? Maybe you can start with that one and then see if that already took off the edge, you know? And then you can like stay home a bit, like let her like warm up again and then like go again for a small walk. Hi Ash, welcome, welcome. But try, yeah, try to look for something you can do for yourself, Asta. Oh, she's 25 kilo. Oh, well, okay. Oh, wow. But it's crazy that she gets too cold. Like, I would think that like a Malinois would be like, because they're like so sporty, right? That they could like, keep themselves warm, maybe. Hi, Phoenix. Welcome, welcome. People out this invited that it's people we could avoid some problems. Like knowing, oh, this person is saying these things because they are in this state of mind, not focus on super surface level topics of. Well, the thing is, like, sometimes that helps, right? But sometimes people are also like, when they like talk about these like superficial, surface level topics in an argument, they're not really aware themselves that they are in this state of mind. So when you then sort of like, in a way, like put that out there, they might not be ready to actually like see that. At the same time, it's definitely a thing where like it's essentially like a little bit under the like have you ever heard of mentalizing? Because that's sort of like what you talk about, and it's a really great skill. And that one you actually like with that like the sort of I guess the recommendation how to try and get other people to mentalize is actually mentalize yourself. So mentalizing is essentially like putting yourself in the shoes of the other person and exactly sort of thinking like this, like sort of like trying to understand why they're so angry right now and trying to understand the logic behind that. And then it's like easier to talk about these things, right? But I think honestly, the more I guess the easier way in to use this in a social setting is just to believe others. Like you don't need to believe them about uh like about yourself, but believe them how they see reality, if that makes sense. Like if some person says like you suck so much, you know, like don't believe them in the way that you're like, oh no, I suck so much, but believe them that this is what they think, that this is actually what they think. Like they don't only say this to like piss you off, but believe them that this is what they think. Because there's so many situations where we like argue about whether something is true or not, whether even though it's really just this is true for them and that won't really change if we just find like a counter argument. Because yeah, like usually like you say, it's more about the like sort of what is the like logic behind it and like the feelings behind it, which you can't like outsmart just in an argument like this. Like if you're in an argument where there's emotions involved, it's really about the emotion. It's not much about what is being said. So if you then can address the emotions, but not really in a way of like, oh, I see you're like doing this and whatever, like you in that like worse state of mind, but more like really in a way of like, oh, I see you're angry with me and you seem to feel like really unsafe. What can I do for you right now? Like how can we fix that? Yeah. There's a video on mentalizing. So tiny up there. Ah, oh, okay. This is like a video on mentalizing. A good one. Okay, let me. Okay, so someone who has lost good friends, the question to ask is why your friends generally shitting on you, or are they just bad at communication and are frustrated with your attack? Because if it's the latter, then that can be changed. With level heads, you will get a lot. If they are hating on you for the sake of it, that's when you walk away. Telling someone they are being negative, be both, and it's important to know which one is it. Yeah, it's definitely a very, I don't know, like with all relationships, right? It can be very complicated really quick. Mm. Nice chronology. I'm glad for you. I hope it's gonna go well. I mean, just because she has like short hair doesn't really mean she's gonna get cold, right? Like, as far as I'm concerned, the codes are sort of different, and cold is like for dogs, I think like easier to actually like hold through as for humans. How were you able to ground yourself? Numerology. Mm. Ah, I see, Esther. Okay, so okay, I get it. Like 4 hours is actually quite long. Would you say mentalizing can be double-edged sword? Like, do you believe there are malignant people can use that for manipulation purposes? I mean, of course, people can use sort of insight into other people for like manipulation purposes, but it's not like they're gonna wait. Like, it's not like they need to know the term mentalizing to manipulate you. Like, people who learn manipulation usually learn it in childhood from like either peers or their parents. So it's not really a thing where like you don't manipulate people all your life and then you read like one book and now all of a sudden you like start manipulating people. That's usually not really how it starts. Hi, Habib. Welcome. Hi, Ali. How are you doing today? Is today better than yesterday? I read your messages in Discord. So did sleeping work? Sometimes you have to choose whether you want to be the friend or the figure. I don't always have both. You can get the respect, be there for someone. Hmm. I honestly think being the parental figure is a really double-edged sword. Because at the same time, like some people need that, yeah, I understand. But they need it because they lack the skills of being a healthy adult themselves. And that's something they should really learn because otherwise they're gonna be dependent on you. Like the sort of the relationship of parent-child, right, is essentially um it's a dependent relationship. Like the child is dependent on the parent. And at some point, your parent should like let you go, and then there's like less dependency, hopefully, and it turns more into like a friend type relationship. Um, but I think you can be a friend and also help your friend and guide your friend and give your friend like really sound advice. Like it doesn't you don't need to like friends don't need to be like useless if that makes sense. Um it's just with like the parent-child dynamic technically means that your parent is like sort of like needs to give you like all of your needs and like meet your needs because they decided to get that kid, right? Like it was sort of like they signed up for that uh yeah, for this whole ordeal. And you as a kid, you can't do stuff alone. So there's just things where like they need to do them for you. Like there's no other option really. But like as an adult, there's like I'm sort of worried about the term of like, oh, like yeah, you can be the parent for some of your friends. Like I don't think that's I feel like we're like like depending on like how you really like mean that, right? The possibility is quite high that we're talking about a dependent relationship, um, which can lead to a lot of problems. Uh, Sorry, Lapino, but we need like English or German in this stream. Otherwise, we can't make sure if your messages are like, like are okay or not. So, Can I? Oh, that's. Oh my god. I took them away already. I took them away already. It's fine. I didn't know that was the button for that. How do you delete single messages? Drag to. Can you not delete single messages anymore? Anyways. Mercy been sleeping all Saturday and Sunday. Stable. I'm glad, Ellie. Click on the message and delete message. I don't have that button. Like I tried it, but I don't have it. I just have the like ban and timeout and stuff. So no, I don't have that button. Maybe I need to go to more. I can't be bothered. I don't know, it's gonna be fine, probably. So Mirandex, are you still here? Because then I would like read your message now. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Hey, great. I have some news about my situation. I had an incredible week, and on Friday, my ex sent me a message. And I thought, oh, she sent something like, sorry for what I said to you, or sorry for this month that I was really distant. But guess what? She sent a lot of messages blaming me for breakup with her and calling me child insensitive and saying that I will not have a good relationship in my life. After almost 2 weeks and that. Well, it's exactly really classic. What do you think about my last message? Is a way to blame me and trying to put me down, or is she just mad for the breakup? I feel like I'm not really like, usually even when other people want to put you down, it's really about their own bad emotions, right? And they can't have you feeling better than them. And they think it's like unfair that you feel better, and that's why they like then put you down. So I feel like since you didn't have any contact, it's probably more of a situation of like, they feel shitty right now and they need to let it out on somebody. Or like they want to let it out on somebody. It's not like they would need to, but apparently they can't really handle those emotions, and that's why they let it out on somebody. And you were the #1 nominated person for that. So I don't know, unless there's like really like specific things in there, like specific actual sort of like critique which makes sense and comes from a point of not sort of like just hating on you, but also just like, hey, like that would be good if you would fix that, sort of. I don't know, like you can always think about that yourself, right? Like what she said, and sort of think about if that's like true or not, and if you think that can lead to problems or not. But if you like read through these messages and you're like, I thought about this, like that was not entirely, like that was really not the case, you know? And this is not how I really understand that. And it's also nothing which like other people say about you as well, you know, where it's like you notice like, oh, like I really thought like this is not me, but now it turns into a pattern. So if there's no pattern and you don't think this about you, then yeah, she's probably just feels shit and doesn't know how else to deal with her emotions. Oh no, it's definitely not a try to fix the relationship. For sure not. I would not in hell take this as a motivation to come back to that person. Like, if anything, you can take that as like, oh, I really thought like maybe I did the wrong decision in actually breaking up. And now being like, well, seems like I did well. seems like breaking up was actually a really smart decision because it turns out this person is like this, you know? So, yeah. Like, I think, like, knowing this, you know, like, how this makes you feel, how this message makes you feel. And, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So that's good. But I think I would ban her contact. Like delete her number, ban her on WhatsApp, whatever. Because you have loved this person at some point, and apparently they're not a person who you can trust with that responsibility. So I would just delete them out of my life, essentially. Just ban them, not have contact to them anymore. Nine cooking pans. I have 3. Works fine. So, what did you think you need to do with that message, Mirandex? Because you seem sort of clear about how you think about this message. So, is there anything like, I feel like it would be interesting to know why you brought it up here in the stream. Not because like, this is not coming from a point like, oh, you wasted my time, but this is coming from a point of like, there might be something like sort of next to the topic, but not specifically this message, which would be worth talking about. Thank you for the follow and welcome. I mean, Asta, if you think this is like gonna be like super worth it, like go for it. Like I'm not gonna tell you how to spend your money or how to don't. So so were you sort of like doubting whether like any of this is true and you deserved it in some way? Grumpy always with the most messages. Hi Joro, welcome, welcome. Hola, welcome. How you doing, Daniel? Why can I give other people good tips and things I can do, but I can't follow it myself? Well, the thing is, sometimes we don't believe in tips we have to do, right? So it's more like, why don't you do it? Like, do you not believe in the tips? You maybe not believe that you're worth this effort and that you're worth getting better. You maybe not want to change your situation because this situation you know. the next one you might not. Maybe you don't follow it because you don't have the energy. There's a lot of worthwhile explanations and circumstances. I think this is honestly like for everybody in a bad headspace, right? But I feel like we just need to prove our brain wrong in those moments. We need to cling to the hope and idealism, the belief that there is something better, and just risk it. And do it even though our brain tells us that it's stupid or hopeless or not worth, right? Hi, Judith. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Fluffy. That's a very good reminder. It's really cold outside though, so I'm not gonna like out like long. Mm. Okay. There's enough. This is what I need. If all my friends were better, then made me really shaky. I understand. I mean, maybe you can learn something from it. Much snow. Okay. Mirandex, do you still have an answer to that sort of question? There's like any doubts about whether you might deserve that or not, or whether something she said is true? I really struggle to let people in and to trust them, so I don't want to learn that people are reputable. I mean, I don't think that's true, right? Like, even if you had a bad bad experience with those friends now, I don't think this applies to all people, right? Because otherwise I would be horrible and everybody in chat would be horrible as well, because we're also people, right? So I don't know. I don't think it's, I don't know, like there's a lot of people which we don't really click with and which don't really understand what we're going through, right? I mean, if you're sort of like worried about believing, like losing hope and like not believing in people anymore, I feel like honestly, like trying to mentalize with your friends could be an idea. Like trying to understand the logic where they're coming from, like trying to understand why they're saying what they're saying. Because most people don't say it to hurt others, but it's just collateral damage, really. dealing with some physical health problems for 3 months now, and I was feeling helpless. Hmm. What type of physical health problems do you have, Jara? If you want to share, you don't need to. Welcome back, Ali. Welcome, Corrupted. I don't really know. When I think about it all, I have some doubts because everyone says you love someone, you need to try and be there for her. But I think in this 4 months, I lost myself. I think we say that. We say that because this is like a really simplified version, right? Mirandex. But this is not really like if you love someone, you need to try and be there for them. It's not really meant for the case of a person where like this is meant for like a normal relationship, like the couple like loves each other, you know, and like I don't know, like she got like sick, and then you should be there for her. Like it's meant in like a normal, like a really really normal circumstance. It's not really meant for this, you know, like for the edge cases. It's not very good. Like generalized statements are really like if they don't include a way how to work like really individually, they're usually just not a really good representation once you go out of the classic movie scenario. All right, Fluffy. See you next time, and wish you a beautiful day as well. By the way, you have like an exam today, right? Like something I thought you had today where you thought you couldn't join the stream actually. Or is that only next week on Monday? Oh no, that was next week. Don't feel like I should make the first move because then I let them see it. I mean, I don't mean make the first move, but mentalizing you can do on your own, right, Asta? Like, just try to, like, I mean, you're the only person who knew what they, like specifically said, right, and how that situation sort of, like, came to be. So, really just, like, sit down and try to think about how, like, how their statements can make sense. Like, what needs to be true for these statements to sort of make sense? And is there a situation where you understand how they got to the point that they said those things? I think following one's own tips is difficult because you're stuck inside your own skin, and some distance it's easier to see and give advice. It's more difficult if you're too close. I mean, definitely you did. Like, that's a big thing. The other big thing is if you give advice, you don't have to do it, right? Like you're not the person who like it's always easy to be like, yeah, just go out there, you know, like meet some new people, find some new friends. And I can easily say this because if I say this to you, right, like I'm not the person who needs to be vulnerable and brave and like combat their like social anxiety maybe to like start a conversation, then be in this awkward space where you think like, oh, I should, but what do I say? You know, like it's just sort of it's the same like oh, you should run a marathon. You know, that's really easy to say because you're not the person who needs to run the marathon. So I think that's also like the big second part of this. Like we can give advice easily because there is no work attached to it. There's no effort attached to it. And so like the sort of energy it takes to give advice is like minimal, right? The energy it takes to actually do something is really, really big. So while the solution might be, yeah, just go out there, find some new friends, you know, like saying it is like always within our energy sort of expenditure for the day. Doing it might not be within the energy we have for a day. Let's go, Ellie. 3-stream streak. I'm just careful telling anyone further. My father and his best friend fell out over feeding his dog. It was the argument at the time, but realistically the issue was he had just lost his job and was extremely frustrated at the time. But too much was said, they didn't speak for like a decade. As a kid, I didn't understand the nuance of relationships. I saw Dad's friend on the train one time and I hid from him because I thought all relationships were black and white. When I told my dad about this, he asked about him and doing. That was sad that I didn't speak to him. So I learned that not everything's black and white. Years later, they ran into each other and started talking to each other like nothing had happened. Like no one is an argument away from each other. One day, we will never know when, but one day we would have forgiven each other. This requires the universe to spontaneously have us in the same place at the same time. I mean, if we want to leave it up to the universe, then for sure. Unfortunately, he only got another year with each other's company before Dad's friend found out he had terminal cancer. And at the end, the friend couldn't find the words to tell Dad that he was dying. Just asked Dad to visit him in hospital and died the next day. Was Dad's best friend for life, someone that will never be replaceable. So the point I'm making is forever isn't forever. You need to value the right people and try not to bail for trivial things. Yeah. I think this is though why I really don't like to leave things to the universe. Like, they might have like never met again, right? Like, if one of them would have been brave enough to start talking to the other person again, they could have fixed the whole thing before. And yeah. So this is really, yeah, it can cost you a lot to not speak up about something. The reason I say the universe is because you never know when the other person has worked out their baggage. I mean, if there's no way, for sure, like then that person just needs space and stuff like this. But if it would just require like a vulnerable, open communication, you know, just like one cup of tea. But this is also like what this also shows is how sad it can be if you're not able to open up to others, right? Like was no possibility to talk about the lost job, or even being like having like terminal cancer and dying. And I honestly think that's really sad, because otherwise they could have gotten their goodbye they actually sort of wanted. And I don't know, you can have way like deeper connections if you open up to each other. And then you also like sometimes don't even need to wait until the other person like worked out their baggage, right? Because you can help them. Because you know of that baggage. And you can like agree to find a way how to work with it.